Coming up on Retiring Well with Michael Reese.
This sounds really cool, but I hate to give the IRS that $150K. I hate that. I don't want, is there any way to avoid it? Nothing. Okay, tax-free. By the way, those are my two favorite words in the tax code. How about you? Tax-free, those are the best, right?
Some expenses and debts and stuff like that. So fortunately, because of that life insurance, we were able to plan it out so it didn't beat her up too bad.
Retiring Well with Michael Reese, helping you make smart decisions with your money so you can live a better life. Today is the day you can take back control of your money. Retiring Well with Michael Reese, where we believe your best is yet to come.
Welcome to Retiring Well. I'm your host, Michael Reese, and this week, get ready for it. I know you're going to be excited. We're going to talk about, are you ready? Taxes. Woo! Yeah, I know. You're not real excited about taxes. Nobody really is. But I promise you this is going to be real interesting, because what we're specifically focusing on this week is something that most people don't talk about, and that is what happens to your surviving spouse. So if you're married, what happens to your surviving spouse from a tax perspective? Because I'm telling you what, this is how the IRS treats a surviving spouse is just plain ugly. It is not pretty. And you need to understand how this works, right? Because nobody wants to die and leave their surviving spouse in a bad spot with the IRS. So you need to understand what's going on so you can make smart choices. I mean, you got to know what the problem is before you make a good choice, and you need to know what your options are. So we're going to talk about that today, and I think you're really going to enjoy this. Now, by the way, what if you're single? What if you're single and you're not married? You're still probably going to want to pay attention because, as you know, if you're single, taxes, they're a pain in the, well, we'll just call it backside. How about that? You know they're not a good number for you. So we're going to have hopefully some good suggestions for you as well. All right. I think that this topic is best illustrated by using an example. So let's imagine we have a couple, and their names are, I don't know, let's use Bob and Mary, right? So we have Bob and Mary, and they're married, they're retired, and just to paint the picture, let's imagine that Bob and Mary, they have no debt. They paid off all their debt, and they're retired, and they're perfectly happy living on $5,000 of income a month, or $60,000 a year. Now, by the way, as you're sitting there at home watching this, you might be thinking, well, wow, $60,000, I would need more than that to live on if I were retired. You might be thinking that. Well, that's okay. I mean, just stay along with me, because what's going to happen is if you need more income, then the numbers are just worse for you. So you got a bigger problem than what you're going to see with Bob and Mary. So just heads up on that one. All right, so here we go. Bob and Mary, no debt, $5,000 a month. And you can kind of see on the screen, their income is comprised of Social Security and IRA distributions. So a combination of each. Social Security, IRA distributions. That's all. Now, at the end of the day, they are married, and they're filing taxes as though they are married, filing jointly. These are the best tax brackets in the entire tax code. So when they do their tax return, at least using current numbers, and you never know, the tax return, the tax code always gets changed, but using the codes that are current as of our recording today, you can see that they're owing, about $1,300, give or take, on their $60,000 of income. So if I do the math, I mean, $60,000 of income, effectively they're paying about $1,300, give or take. What is that, 2-3%? That is a fantastic tax bracket. I mean, how many of you sitting at home would love to pay 2-3% tax on your income for the rest of your life? Raise your hands. I can see you. I mean, yeah, that's terrific, isn't it? Oh my gosh, I wish I could pay those numbers. All right, so life is good. Everybody's happy. Clearly, as far as this couple is concerned, they have no tax problems. And guess what? Right now, they don't. But something happens. One of them dies. Now, might be Bob, might be Mary. right? Who knows? But one of them die. And when one of them die, what happens? Well, number one of those Social Security checks goes away, doesn't it? But maybe the surviving spouse still wants their $60,000 of income. They still need that income. So what do they have to do? They have to pull out a little bit more money out of that IRA. And now it's time to file their tax return. Well, now they're not married filing jointly anymore, are they? They're a single taxpayer. So filing as a single taxpayer, same $60,000 of income, let's take a look and see how much tax they owe now. Holy cow! When they were married, they were paying the IRS like $1,300 a year. Look what they're paying them now. It's over $7,000. Whew! That's a little bit of a kick in the pants, isn't it? Guys, wow. $7,000. That's a huge, huge increase in taxes. Why? Single taxpayer versus married. So how do you fix it? How do you fix it? Well, look, I don't want you going anywhere. Don't go anywhere, because in a little bit, we're going to tell you what you can do to not just fix it, but maybe even make it a little bit better than when they were married. Don't go away. We will be right back.
What is your vision of a successful retirement? And how can you make your dream a reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord, invite you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn about how the new tax reform affects your retirement, lifetime income strategies, managing your investment risk, not just hoping for returns, avoiding financial health care challenges, legacy planning, and much more. Tuesday, January 16th, or Thursday, January 25th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Wednesday, January 17th at the Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Hi, I'm sitting here with Larry Flynn. Thanks for being here, Larry.
Thank you, Mike.
He's one of the advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. And folks, as you may know by now, we certainly invite you to come visit with us. It's absolutely free to get a second opinion on your retirement planning. And I think it's important to get a second opinion from someone who's a specialist when it comes to retirement planning. And Larry, I'm sure they're wondering, if they pick up the phone and they call and come visit with you, what can they expect? What's that experience like?
Well, Mike, they can expect not to get hard sold, okay? We're going to greet them warmly. We're going to sit down and talk to them a little bit about maybe their story, where they're from, where they grew up, how they met their spouse, what they're dreaming of doing once they get soon to be retired or retired.
Kind of what are their goals, right?
Yeah, what are your goals? We're going to talk to them a little bit about who we are, what we do, show them how we do things, especially dealing in the market realities we find ourselves in today.
Got it. So essentially, they're coming in, you're learning a little bit about what's important to them, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish. I'm sure you're taking a look at what they're doing so far. You maybe share a little bit about you, and it's just in a very relaxed atmosphere.
That's right.
And there's no cost to do this, is that correct?
No cost, no cost.
All right. So, folks, there you go. I mean, it sounds very simple, very easy, very laid back. There's no reason for you not to just pick up the phone, call the number on the screen, come visit us, get that second opinion. You'd be glad that you did. Hi, this week in Chalk Talk, we are looking at IRAs. We're going to look at what you own versus what the IRS owns. And then we're going to look at how you can use a couple of different strategies in order to move away from these taxable IRAs into more tax-free Roth IRAs. So let's start with the basics. We're going to look right here with this IRA. Imagine for the moment that you have an IRA that has about $500,000 in it. If that's your IRA, you have to recognize, of course, that, hey, that's not all your money. I mean, I know it says your name on the account, but it's not all your money because you can't cash it out and get $500K. If you cash it out, you're going to get something less. You're probably going to get somewhere between $300,000 to $350,000. Who gets the rest of the money? The IRS. So if we're being real honest with ourselves, this IRA should be titled, John Smith and IRS's IRA, right? I mean, that's just reality. Now, one of the things that we're always looking to do is to say, how do we create the greatest value out of your IRA? How do we help you get as much value out of this IRA as possible? Well, the way we do that is by transitioning out of the IRA based on your schedule, based on what makes sense on your tax return, and we want to try to move over to Roth IRA. And one of the greatest things about a Roth is, of course, these two words, tax-free. We love tax-free. And so if we can go from IRA to Roth, that's a beautiful thing. Unfortunately, when you go from a taxable environment to a tax-free environment, guess what? Yeah, you got to pay some tax. Okay, making sense so far? So there's a couple ways to make this happen. I'm going to give you the basic way first, and then I'm going to give you a little bit of a fancy idea that actually works really well if you do it right second. So let's go first. So here's the first idea. First thing we do is we start taking a look at your tax returns and we start figuring out what is the most efficient way to transition your IRA to a Roth. Now, think about it this way. Your IRA is almost like a business, where in this case you have a $500,000 business. You are 70% shareholder. You own about $350 of it. The IRS, they're a 30% shareholder. They own so they own about $150 of it. And what a Roth conversion is essentially you're saying in this business, you're saying to your partner, the silent partner of the IRS, you're saying, all right, guys, I'm going to buy you out. Now, you might choose to buy them out in 1 year or over several years. But the net effect is what you're doing is you're taking this amount, your share of the IRA, and you are transitioning it over here. And the reason for that is so that you can enjoy tax-free growth forevermore, no required minimum distributions. There's all kinds of tax benefits to do this, all right? That's the simple way. That's the easy way. That's something everybody can do. There are literally zero restrictions. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how old you are. Everybody can do these things. You with me so far? So far, that's an easy thing to do. Sometimes people say to us, though, gosh, this sounds really cool, but I hate to give the IRS that $150K. I hate that. I don't want, is there any way to avoid it? Well, the answer is no, with a big but. And that but is, you can, however, determine who pays the majority of that tax. So one of the things, if you do a traditional Roth conversion, you're paying the tax. But one of the things you could choose to do is you can say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take some money over time, and I'm going to use it to buy $150,000 of life insurance. And what happens is, it's going to cost you less than $150,000 to buy it. When you die, the life insurance company pays the IRS, and the entire $500,000 floats tax-free to your surviving spouse. Couple good ideas there. Hope you find at least one of them helpful.
What is your vision of a successful retirement? And how can you make your dream a reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord, invite you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn about how the new tax reform affects your retirement, lifetime income strategies, managing your investment risk, not just hoping for returns, avoiding financial health care challenges, legacy planning, and much more. Tuesday, January 16th, or Thursday, January 25th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Wednesday, January 17th at the Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
You don't walk into a doctor's office for some blanket prescription for whatever ails you. You expect individualized attention, a doctor who listens, and a treatment prescribed to meet your specific need. When it comes to your financial future, why expect anything less? If you would like an independent checkup from an independent advisor with access to hundreds of possible solutions to help you meet your goals, contact us today.
Welcome back. We just saw in Chalk Talk how, in our little example with Bob and Mary that we've been talking about today, what was a big problem? It was the IRA. You know, the IRA, big taxable account going to a single taxpayer. It creates all kinds of challenges. So how do you fix it, right? How do you fix it? Well, here's what I want you to start thinking about, right? I want you to start thinking about what we would call tax arbitrage. Okay, tax arbitrage. So what does that mean? All right, here we go. What if, right? What if Bob and Mary, when they're both alive and married, remember, what did we say? When you're married, you're in the best tax brackets. What if Bob and Mary each year started using some kind of tax arbitrage strategy where what they would do is they would start to take some of those IRA dollars and every year convert them to maybe a Roth IRA, or maybe move them into other tax-free types of accounts? What if they did something like that, right? And they did it every single year. And what if, over the years, that they were able to move essentially most, if not all of the IRA into some of these tax-favored accounts? What if they did that? Well, as you can see on the screen now, if they were able to do that, if one spouse dies, look at the outcomes. The surviving spouse, instead of paying $7,000 in tax, ends up paying what? Yeah, isn't that awesome? Nothing. Okay, tax-free. By the way, those are my two favorite words in the tax code. How about you? Tax-free, those are the best, right? So there are ways to fix this problem. But here, let's think about this. There's a couple things we need to look at here, right? So number one, how do you fix a problem you don't know you have? How do you do that? So I want you to think about, taxes. If you have, most people, you know what they're doing these days? A lot of people, about half the people we talk to, you know who's doing their taxes? They are. Maybe you're doing your taxes using TurboTax or something like that. Well, gosh, how are you going to find out if you even have a problem here? You don't even think to ask a question. You don't run the numbers. How do you fix a problem you don't have? How about this? The other half, they have accountants. When do you see your accountant? Well, you see them during tax season, right? How much time does your accountant have during tax season to actually do any kind of tax planning? Yeah, they don't have any, do they? They're doing everything they can just to get the right numbers in the right boxes for the IRS. That's not when people do tax planning. So what happens is, number one, how many times do the accountants look at you and say, oh my gosh, you're married. Man, have you ever looked and seen what your tax return might look like after one of you pass away? How many times do accountants say that? And I know the answer, it's like never, right? So problem number one, how do you fix a problem you don't even know you have? But problem number two, who do you go to fix the problem once you know you've got it? Can you really go to your accountant and say, hey, how do I best do this? The problem is accountants, they're not, if you're a business owner, they're great at tax planning, right? If you own a business, yeah, they'll do tax planning. But when you're single, what if you're retired? Or what if you're still working? Well, what kind of tax planning happens then? Pretty much none. So where do you have to go to get your tax planning done? Your financial advisor, right? Now, when's the last time, unless you're working with somebody like us, when's the last time you've asked your financial advisor about some help with tax planning? What do they say? Yeah. Whoa! Don't ask me, ask your accountant, who doesn't really help people with questions like this. So it's important. This is one of the reasons you really want to pick up the call and give us a shout. Come visit with us. Help us at least run this. Let's have this conversation. Let's help you figure out how do you transition in such a way that makes sense for you and it takes care of your surviving spouse. This is good stuff.
What is your vision of a successful retirement? And how can you make your dream a reality? Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors specializing in retirement planning in Traverse City, Petoskey, and Gaylord, invite you to an eye-opening and exciting event packed with up-to-date, valuable, and important information. Join us for a free presentation with complimentary gourmet dinner and learn about how the new tax reform affects your retirement, lifetime income strategies, managing your investment risk, not just hoping for returns, avoiding financial health care challenges, legacy planning, and much more. Tuesday, January 16th, or Thursday, January 25th at Boone's Long Lake Inn in Traverse City, or Wednesday, January 17th at the Boyne Mountain Resort in Boyne Falls. Presentations start at 6 p.m. and are free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow. But seating is limited and fills quickly. Call 888-608-5825 or visit sen-wealth.com to reserve your seats today. There is no cost and no obligation. Don't miss this important presentation, making your retirement vision a reality. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
Welcome back, folks. This week we've been talking about taxes and surviving spouses. And I have sitting with me today Art Canfield, one of the financial advisors at Centennial Wealth Advisory. Art, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Always enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you're here because I know you're on the front lines. You're the ones that you're visiting with people all the time. And you are sitting, I'm sure you have come across situations where people have passed away, leaving a surviving spouse. And that has a lot of impact in a lot of areas, right? Yeah. Especially taxes. Right. And I'm just wondering if anything comes to mind, a story that maybe you could share with our viewers that might apply with some of the topics we discussed today.
Sure. You know, and these are never easy to talk about because, you know, and unfortunately a loved one's passing away, right? Yeah. And unfortunately it happens fairly often. We specialize in folks in retirement ages, so the odds probably are that it's gonna happen occasionally. And one situation stands out in my mind a lot because I think it's a little bit more unique than others, but this situation, they live downstate. And the plan was to retire in northern Michigan, like so many people want to do. And just before they retired, the husband was actually a financial advisor downstate. So you would think that they were well planned for, correct?
You would hope so.
Hope so. Just like kind of the saying is, you know, the auto mechanic's car is always the one that needs the most attention. The builder's house is falling apart.
I thought it was the cobbler's children have no shoes, but I guess you've updated it for a younger generation.
Sure. Yeah. In the same thing, though, in this situation, unfortunately, I think that financial advisor overlooked him and his wife's own personal plan. The interesting thing was is she come to us after his passing and said, guys, I need help. My goal is I still want to retire. In fact, I already have, and I need to pick the pieces up and ultimately live. You know, how can I enjoy a successful retirement here in Northern Michigan and do the things, meet the goals I still want to do?
Now, what was the tax impact on her like? Was it significant?
It was. They were fortunate, even though they didn't plan for retirement or obviously even the death, they had a significant amount in pre-tax IRAs. And the one kind of brilliant thing that basically she admitted was by mistake, but was brilliant, is that he had $1 million life insurance policy on himself.
Okay, so now wait a minute. So when he died, even though they had a lot of IRA money, you said it was by mistake that he had $1 million policy?
Yeah.
How is that by mistake?
Because I think, you know, from what she told me, he always talked about how he didn't like the policy.
Oh, how he's going to let it go because...
and all this sort of stuff. And thank goodness he didn't, right? So all those times people, I don't need life insurance, it's not going to be me. Here's an example. If you ask this lady, she would be extremely pleased, fortunately, that this was there before, because financially, they still had debt. They still had, you know, she needed to pay off some stuff. She still wanted to help the children out. They had 3 children, that there was plans to kind of get them on their feet because they were still early 20s and a lot of financial responsibility. So her income had to be kind of kept at a higher level. She wasn't able to adjust that much.
And yeah, so since she's a single taxpayer now, I'm guessing her tax liability increased dramatically.
Yeah, she, you know, one of the biggest shocks she had when we kind of started walking through this and say, hey, you know, this income in this particular year, you know, you still can file jointly, right, for that one final year. We're going to do some planning here to the best we can, but this next year, let's be prepared because you're probably going to, you know, be pushed up because of the needs that you have.
Thousands of dollars?
Yeah. I mean, we're talking, I think she needed, the first year was like $120,000 of income. She needed
oh my gosh.
Some expenses and debts and stuff like that. So fortunately, because of that life insurance, we were able to plan it out so it didn't beat her up too bad. But if planned better, it could have been a much better situation.
Yeah, what would have, man, if the life insurance wasn't there, that could have been an issue.
It would have been devastating.
Yeah, by the way, folks, this is something, and Art, tell me if this is true, but you know, generally speaking, I know people, they kind of poo-poo life insurance a little bit, but gosh darn it, if you have life insurance when you die, that is the best asset for that surviving spouse, isn't it?
It is, and all reality is we looked at the policy he had just because it was part of the paperwork, and the little amount of money he was paying. The guy was fortunately to be healthy. The death was very unexpected, right? Yeah. And the little bit he was paying to the huge benefit and just the relief, emotional relief that provided her was unmatched.
Fantastic. Well, Art, great story. Thanks for joining us today. Folks, that's our show this week. We appreciate you being with us. Have a terrific weekend.